Sawyer makes a mixtape, Mikhail helps Naomi catch her breath, and Jin becomes a daddy. We'll have the straight scoop on all that and more in today's official Lost podcast hosted by ABC.com. Welcome back to the podcast in support of our next episode, The Brig, in which we finally get back to Locke and his wayward father, Anthony Cooper. That episode airs Wednesday, May 2nd from 10 to 11 p.m. Executive producers Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse are here with us again to recap last week's episode, DOC. And of course, they'll also be taking your fan questions. Although if they answer them, that's another story. Here now is your Pod Squad.
Hey, I'm Carlton Cuse.
And I'm Damon Lindelof.
Thanks. Welcome to come. Thanks for coming to our podcast.
Yeah,
really, we appreciate it.
You're awesome.
Thanks a lot. Really, we're really kind to you. Hey, hi, Damon.
Hooray!
We're going to rehash DOC today, and we're going to talk about the Brig, and we're going to answer some questions, and it's going to be a heck of a podcast.
That was like a very radical change in sort of demeanor. We were very down there, and then
now we're back.
We fancy ourselves actors of sorts.
Exactly. Wow, what range.
I'm really excited about this podcast.
What Brando-esque qualities you possess.
And that I'm crazy and eat bugs on occasion.
Do you have your own island in Tahiti?
I don't know. Do I?
You might.
Speaking of islands,
let's
talk about DOC, Carlton,
okay.
Which is last week's episode of Lost. We found out
date of conception.
The date of conception, and it actually turns out that Jin is the
father.
Lucky
man.
Yes. The
Apparently,
bad news, of course, though.
Isn't that crazy how much sperm you have on that island?
5 times the normal amount.
Wow.
And not me.
That might be that might be the most important salient fact we've learned in 3 seasons on the show, isn't it? Really?
That you have 5 times
your
the sperm count.
Yep.
The women do too, which is even freakier.
Wow, that is shocking.
Go Lost.
So Parachute Woman.
Yeah, that look. The reality is it's great that Sun found out that the baby was Jin's, and that's a very relevant piece of information. Lovely flashback story.
Very lovely.
The whole sort of circuit is complete now. We realize that Sun is responsible for having Jin get promoted, and so when she gets mad at him later with the blood on his hands and all that, she's sort of indirectly responsible, but she did it all because she loved him, wanted to protect him from shame.
I think she's pretty directly responsible. I mean, she took that money, and her dad said, now I own him, and that was pretty much the cost and consequences of paying that bribery.
Right, but if she hadn't taken the money, the information would have gotten out, and then Jin would have been embarrassed, so it's kind of a lose-lose situation, as she says.
She kind of picked the best choice.
But that's not really what everyone is talking about, Carlton. What everyone is talking about is what this parachute woman said to Hurley at the end of the episode.
Yes, you mean Naomi.
Yes, I do mean Naomi. You heard it here first. That you will realize that in the next episode, The Brig, which we'll talk about in a minute, that she reveals that her name is Naomi Dorrit.
Dorrit.
Yes.
That sounds. Dorrit sounds very Dickinsonian.
Dickensian?
Dickensian. Yes, that would be better. What did I say? Good God, that
sounds like a dirty word, whatever it is.
Yes, Dorrit.
No, the Dickensian.
Oh, okay. Well, Naomi. Let's get back to Naomi.
Yeah. So she basically says to Hurley, "Wait a minute, you guys. It's impossible that you're the survivors of Oceanic 815. They found that plane, and there were no survivors. So what up with that?
Does that
Carlton?
mean? You know what? Immediately, is going to happen is people are going to say, those guys were lying.
Yep.
Carlton and Damon were lying. It really is purgatory.
Yep.
And, how are we going to respond to that?
We're going to say we were not lying, and it's not purgatory.
Okay, so if it's not purgatory, let's look at what the other explanations possibly could be.
Break it down for me.
Break it down. One possibility would be that she's lying.
Do you want me to beatbox while you break it down?
Yeah, exactly.
Like Blake on
Number one.
No,
she's
stop,
lying.
Stop. Number 1.
She's lying.
She's not telling the truth.
Right. Number
That's
2.
Not very exciting.
Number 2. Conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Number 2 is they actually did find a plane.
Yeah.
With bodies on it.
Somebody put that plane there to
and they
throw people off the
track. It was Oceanic 815. Who could possibly be responsible for something of that magnitude?
Well, that's a really good question.
Have you ever seen that movie Capricorn 1?
Yeah, I have.
Where they staged the moon landing?
Yeah.
Well, if they did that.
I mean, what's throwing a piece of plane hull in a trench in the ocean compared to that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess
I think that's pretty much all we should
that's
say.
all we should really say, because it's going to get a little more interesting in the next episode.
Right.
Naomi is going to expand upon, who she is and what her mission is.
Now, what's up with Mikhail? I mean, he's back alive, apparently.
That's to do with the eye patch?
Yeah. How come he's not dead?
I guess that there's a couple of explanations there too. One is maybe that the fence was not turned up high enough to actually kill him, or the second is that he died and then was brought back to life by the island.
That I wouldn't like.
All right, so then let's go with the first one.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is he going to explain that for us though, Carlton? Will he explain how he survived?
He probably will throw a sentence at it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Maybe in a week or two.
Yeah, that'd be
I'd
good.
stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. That's pretty much everything I want to say about DOC. Should we talk about The Brig a little bit?
Yeah, let's break it down.
Break it down. The Brig is a pretty cool episode. We wrote The Brig. We kind of one of those big kind of turning point episodes for us. It answers a lot of questions. Certainly answers one big question, which is where the heck has Locke been?
Yeah. Where
And
has he been?
He's been off with the others.
Doing what?
Well, that's what we're going to tell you.
Where have the others been?
The others are certainly not in New Otherton anymore. They're on the road.
Are they going somewhere?
They're on their way someplace.
Are we going to find out where they're on their way to?
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So Locke is just kind of hanging out with them? Like,
I think he's trying to get himself inculcated into their community. Is that going to be successful?
I don't know. Here's what I want to know. When last I saw Locke, he was saying goodbye to Kate. They said that he was going with the others. But something happened, obviously, between him seeing Cooper in that room and then going and talking to Kate that made him decide, I'm going to go with these people. So that's what I want to see. I want to know what happened in the instant that he opened up that door and saw his father sitting there.
Yes.
Like, what up with that? Like, where did Cooper come from?
Well, you got kind of a whole rapper thing today. You kind of want to be a rapper today. Do you have a rapper name?
I don't have a rapper name, and there's a very good reason for that.
Because you're not a rapper?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I have no rap skills with a Z, as they say in the rap community. But in any case, that's neither here nor there. What is here and there is the idea that this guy Cooper, who is Locke's father, who pushed him out of an 8-story window, who stole his kidney, is now in a room on the island, and I want to know why.
For 6 weeks we've been waiting to find out why.
Are you going to tell us how
We
he got
are.
to the island?
We're going to tell you everything.
So
pretty much. Well, no one's going to believe that we're telling you everything. Everyone will remain frustrated, but we are answering a lot of questions.
Will Cooper tell us how he got to the island?
Yes, he will.
Well, that's cool.
That's excellent.
So-
All right, that's enough. I don't think we need to, give away the whole dang episode.
All right, I'm just curious.
We'll leave it to the, leave it to their imaginations.
Watch your language with the danging.
Dang. Where are my questions?
Yeah, it's
All right.
time for questions.
This is really why people listen to the podcast anyway, for these questions.
Yeah, they don't want to hear
And
us.
I promise not to laugh uncontrollably today. At least I think I won't.
Okay.
All right.
Why don't you start, Carlton?
Okay. Carlton Cues in Numbers by Congested. 2 posts in 90 days. I was watching the episode Numbers, and I'm pretty sure right after Hurley wins the lotto, Carlton says, "That's right, Mary Jo, because this is the 16th week without a winner. So is it you, Carlton Cues, or not? It sure sounds like you. I guess if this producing thing doesn't work out, you've got some nice work for your voice acting demo." That was a question for myself, actually.
Did you write that letter yourself?
Well, I have been kind of congested this week. I have had a little bit of a sinus issue.
I've noticed that about you.
Yes, that is me. In fact, it really is.
Wow, this is great. This is a question being asked about an episode from like over 2 years ago, and now
it deserves an answer.
Now we are closing the door on that lingering mystery.
Good. Well, I wanted to ask and answer that question, and now I have.
That's
so,
good to know. I had
now go ahead and ask yourself a question.
I had forgotten you had done that.
Okay. Now I'll ask you a question for real this time.
Okay, please.
All right. Hello, Carlton and Damon. I was wondering, it was hinted in Season 2 that Desmond brought down Oceanic 815 because he doesn't push the button. However, the hatch is now gone, and the helicopter met the same fate. Does this mean that something other than the electromagnetic anomaly is crashing stuff on the island? Thanks. Love the show and podcasts.
That's an interesting question, because we've seen a couple aircraft now. Obviously, the Nigerian plane that had Echo's brother Yemi aboard it, and a couple bad dudes, crashed on the island. Rousseau's
Boat.
research vessel crashed on the island.
You got the Black Rock in the middle of the jungle.
Black Rock is in the middle of the jungle. So, the button is not the only method. But I would say that if you are an actual jumbo jet, sort of a 747 or a 777, it might require a little more than sort of the average electromagnetic pulse to bring you down, in fact, rip you in half. So I would say that if you are a smaller vessel, like a helicopter or a 19th century slaving vessel with lots of metal on it, you need the extra kick, the added punch of a button not getting pushed. That'd be my theory, personally.
Well, I don't know if I like that theory.
Well, planes fly over the island all the time and don't crash there, so...
Do they?
Yeah, well, I would assume, unless
unless
it's
the
outside
island isn't there.
Yeah, unless it's outside the space-time continuum.
In which case, maybe it's fate that brings people to the island.
That's true.
That's another theory. That would be my theory.
That's a really good theory that probably would frustrate a lot of people because it's so intangible and tutti-frutti.
Yeah, well, I like Tutti Frutti.
You're wearing a T-shirt that says Tutti Frutti right now.
I'm not. We're on camera.
No, we're not. There's a camera pointed at us, but I hope we're not on it.
Okay, that's good. So,
All right, can I ask you a question now, Carlton?
I was going to ask all the questions today.
I want to ask you one.
All
This
right.
is a simple one, Carlton.
Oh my God. If you say that, I know it's not. Okay, I'm ready.
This is from Pile of Atoms, 8 posts in the last 90 days. That's a nice, sane number of postings. Hi, guys. First of all, excellent show. Towards the end of the show, when Hurley and Charlie are debating which superhero would win a race, a blue spark appears on Hurley's forehead. What the heck was that all about? Pile of Atoms. So, Carlton, let's solve this right here and now.
I think
the audience needs to know what was up with that blue spark on Hurley's forehead.
I think Pile of Atoms, you might have had your medication incorrectly adjusted for your viewing, or you might need to go to Costco and get yourself a new TV.
Or it could be a camera flare of some sort.
Or it could have been a camera flare, yeah. Sometimes there's optical effects that create what are called flares.
Or wait a minute, maybe Hurley was using his mental powers.
That's true. Does that mean he's like special like Walt?
No, I mean, he's special in that he can create blue sparks on his forehead, which is a fairly meaningless power, but really impressive at parties.
Honestly, we probably spent many, many hours in that. It would be a cool party gag, wouldn't it? Like, just to be able to just put, like, hey, check it out, like a blue spark on my forehead.
Maybe a couple of weeks ago when you burst into uncontrollable hysterics, you were seeing blue sparks on people's foreheads.
I was. That was actually shortly thereafter. We edited that show for a long time. I never saw the blue spark.
I never saw it either, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
No, it doesn't. And, we don't mean to discount the fact that you saw a blue spark. We believe you did see a blue spark. We, however, did not see the blue sparks. But that doesn't mean you didn't see it. Okay?
That's a very definitive
that's a
answer to
pretty
the
good
question.
answer. Okay, post counts by I Like Lost 12. 150 posts in the last 90 days.
Okay. Wow.
Hi, Damon and Carlton.
Almost 2 a day.
In a recent podcast, you were mentioning how people who have 100-plus post counts in the past 90 days have nothing better to do with their lives. I'm not sure if that was a joke or not, but seriously, going on the message boards less than 5 minutes a day, that is not bad. Also, why would you characterize someone with like 8,000-plus posts in the last 90 days?
Okay, I guess I should answer that question in 2 parts. How many posts?
150 posts in 90 days.
If you can do... well, I guess that is 5 minutes a day, but are you posting every time you go? That is to say, it's just a lot of posts in 90 days. It doesn't mean that you don't have anything better to do. I just say...
Why that many posts?
Plant a tree. Water a plant.
Give back to your community.
Yeah, exactly. Do something like that. As for the 8,000 question, I'll tell you what. If you can generate 8,000 posts in 90 days... Carlton will play a very special banjo song for you in next week's podcast.
That's true.
I'm throwing the gauntlet down. If you can do 8,000 posts in 90 days, and I
will play a Led Zeppelin tune.
It's fairly doable. It's like 110 posts a day, I guess. When you reach that mark, Carlton will...
I will break my banjo out and do something special for you.
I'm really excited about that. All right, you're up, my friend.
Damon and Carlton, no, it's not a Cosby Show teen pregnancy question, though I suppose it does have some corollary. I know you guys have said...
Wait, how many posts?
3 posts in 90 days. I'm sorry, by Xander DG. A very special question on tonight's Lost. This is one I thought you'd like to tackle.
Okay.
It's got some substance to it.
I like to tackle things. Random people on the street.
That's why we get nothing done in the writer's room. I know you guys have said that the big picture mysteries on Lost will have scientific or pseudoscientific explanations. First of all, did we ever say that?
It sounds like something that we would say under the influence of alcohol.
We probably said that somewhere.
Pseudoscience is
Pseudoscience is good. Pseudoscience, there's a lot of wiggle room in pseudoscience.
Exactly. Pseudoscience is like where Michael Crichton plays, and it's like, oh, there's nanobots and dinosaurs in pseudoscience and time travel.
That's right. That's why they call it science fiction.
There will be nothing in Lost that you would not read in a Michael Crichton novel.
Pseudoscience. But I'm hoping, against hope, that some of those will fall into the borderlands of supernatural.
Interesting.
Awesome. That's good. This is going the right way. Which leads me to my post-DOC query. I like the way this guy writes. Sandra.
I like the phrase "borderlands of supernatural."
I know, and query.
Isn't that the title of your second banjo album? Borderlands of Supernatural, the one where you're standing on the cover.
Album.
You're holding up your hand like this, and there's little sparks shooting out of your forehead.
I'm waiting for William Shatner to come in and lay down his backing tracks on some of those numbers there.
Your fan community just refer to it as Borderlands. They're like, Hughes has never been the same since Borderlands.
You know. I took a year off to
Once
do that
he started dabbling in that pseudoscience stuff, it was never as cool as when he was on the fringe of the Borderlands and the supernatural.
It took 6 years of Nash Bridges to come up with all the material on that album.
There should have been some supernatural Borderlands and Nash Bridges. Having written on it with you.
Query.
Yes. Post your query.
Going back to my query.
Yes.
Will you at some point revisit the psychic's predictions about Claire's babies and Walt's seeming ability to either manipulate or predict future events? More, do the others' obsession with children and pregnancy go beyond the apparent inability of women to successfully bear children on the island? Are they interested in, for lack of a better expression, children with special abilities? Would there be a better expression than children with special abilities?
Is that your question and theirs?
That's my question about why. Why don't they just say, are they interested in children with special abilities? I mean,
what
would be the better expression?
Fourth album.
This is from Alex, although he calls himself Xander DG.
Could be Alexander, Yeah, so
but
they're both the same
But
person.
don't you just choose one or the other? If you're Alexander, don't you either go by Xander or Alex?
No, because no one posts under the name from Frank. They all have to have fancy Spamalot or Catwoman Roses or Magic Rabbits or Oceanic Tornado. Who would read a question
never
from
answer any of these
Cliff?
questions.
I'll answer all those.
Tangential.
I'll answer all those questions.
Okay.
First question
was... Revisit the psychic's prediction about Claire's baby and Walt's seeming ability to either manipulate or predict future events.
Yes, we will.
Okay, that's good. More. Do the others' obsession with children and pregnancy go beyond the apparent inability of women to successfully bear children on the island?
Yes.
Are they interested in, for lack of a better expression, children with special abilities?
Yes.
Well, we have. Miss Clue already sort of showed us that. She was asking Walt a lot of questions that you wouldn't find on your average PSAT test.
I mean, I think they want, that's why the others targeted Walt. They really went out of their way to get him, and I think he was sort of on their radar as, there might, in fact, be some hint of that in episodes to come as far as Walt's abilities. But we haven't seen Michael or Walt all season long.
No, that's really kind of frustrating to me.
Well,
maybe
welcome to Lost, my friend.
All right.
I've got one last question for you, Carlton.
All right.
From Munchalong, 4 posts in the last 90 days. Bear with me here because it's long, involved, and well written, but I have to ask it.
Okay.
To be credible nowadays, you have to have a musical, or at least a musical episode. Lost should be no exception. I'm thinking that the Losties could come across some kind of music hatch, possibly the banjo, where the Dharma guys were experimenting on how to make people only communicate through song. Once the hatch is opened, out comes this musical virus, making the whole of the island into some kind of sick cabaret. And seeing as no one can lie through song, maybe we'd finally get some good, solid answers. Heck, you could even make it into a whole musical season, which would tie in nicely to the zombie season. I don't think I've ever seen a musical featuring the living dead. With a cast of hundreds, well, more about 40, and that's going down pretty fast, I'm sure the Sox could provide some nice chorus numbers. The possibilities are very nearly possibly endless. Songs such as, I Don't Know How to Love Gin, a tearjerker where Sun ponders about her love for her husband, as well as Locke Be a Lady Tonight, a showstopper where John ponders his gender, would be instant hits. I'm sure other people can come up with many more. So what do you guys think?
Why is this guy not writing for us on the show?
If it's a guy, it could be a woman.
Could be a woman, too.
I will say this. podcast listeners.
You're answering your own question now.
I
Go
think
ahead.
that you should all submit other potential production numbers along the lines of I don't know how to love gin and Locke Be a Lady Tonight. I think Gin and
Locke
Juice
Be a
is
Lady
actually
Tonight.
a better title for a song that I would like to see. But we will write the musical if you can come up with the inspiring
That's
song titles.
fantastic.
Because it is. You aren't really fronting until you do the musical episode. Buffy did it in their 6th season.
Yeah, and
They
then
did
Scrubs did one.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, pretty much you got to get one on at some point, and that's a pretty good idea for it, I think, too. The Magic Music Hatch.
It's definitely something we'll want to do in the zombie season.
Musicology would be a good thing for the Dharma guys to be researching.
I absolutely
That's
agree
awesome.
with you 100%.
That was fantastic, very creative, and I'm impressed. All right, one last question, then we're outie. Okay?
Sure, please.
This is by Alan L. 7 posts in 90 days. Hey, Damon and Carlton, I have 2 questions for you. I have recently started listening to your podcasts. So entertaining, by the way. Thank you. And you 2 answered a question by saying that there were 9 factions of the others. I was wondering if the 9 factions had anything to do with the different Dharma stations, assuming that there are 9 different stations. My second question has to do with the statue of the foot. Is it in any way an allusion to the poem Ozymandias by Percy Shelley? Thanks for everything and keep it up with the Wicked Bad podcasts.
Sweet. As for the
9 factions of the others?
factions, I think we were joking.
Yeah, there really aren't 9 factions.
There's
of the
like
others.
2 factions.
Yeah.
And that's going to become very apparent in the coming weeks.
Right.
Who's in what faction.
Right.
I like that word.
And
faction.
they're not related to the Dharma stations.
No concordance whatsoever. And then the second question about Ozymandias, I'm not familiar with the poem, but I am familiar with the comic book Watchmen, in which there is the main character of Ozymandias is the big bad guy in that. But if you haven't read the Watchmen, I just spoiled it for you. And also,
God.
But if you haven't read the Watchmen, then you don't care about the Watchmen. So
Right.
shame on you. But in any case, I will now read that poem and answer that question in the following podcast. But it'd be cool if it did have something to do with the four-toed statue, and we didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah. Are we going to get back to the four-toed statue anytime soon?
What do you mean by soon?
Before the show ends?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much all I got for today. For you, Damon. That's it.
This podcast never really got any better than when we first signed on in that sort of humdrum fashion. I mean, sometimes you're knocking them out of the park, and other times you're just reading questions to
You
each
know
other.
what? It's all part of the continuum, and you can't have highs without lows.
You sure can. You know,
So I hope you enjoyed this low.
I'm gonna
from
go.
us.
I'm gonna go listen to Borderlands and have a cocktail, and that always
Okay.
cheers me up.
That's good.
All right.
I'm gonna go read The Road because that's a pretty funny book.
Oh yeah, that's a real joyful one.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye,
and,
Carlton.
Bye, Damon. We'll see you next week.
That's it for now. Join us again next podcast for more fan questions and a rehash of The Brig. And don't forget to submit your own fan questions at our website, lost.abc.com. The Brig airs Wednesday, May 2nd from 10 to 11 p.m. only on ABC.